Okay, so what we've got so far, okay, I recorded my data on the board. Now yours may be a little bit different than mine, okay, but hopefully it's close. How many of you, by 10 marbles, had right around a change of 15? Maybe it was 16, maybe it was 17, but how many groups were close to that? Okay, so I hope that your numbers were close. They should have been close. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to make a graph of this data, okay? So we have to decide which quantity goes on the x-axis and what goes on the y-axis. Our table had two columns. It had the number of marbles and the change in water level. Which ones are independent variable and which ones are dependent variable? Haley. Okay, so the number of marbles is independent and the change in water level is dependent. How much the water level changed depended on how many marbles we put in the cylinder. Okay, so write that down. So when we get to our graph, we should put number of marbles down here at the bottom. And on the side, change in water level. Okay, then we have to number our graph. We can't just start putting dots on the graph if we haven't numbered it. So let's talk about the x-axis first. How should we number that? Haley, what do you think? Okay, so let's start at 0. 0 is the first line. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. 10 because we had 10 marbles. Okay, so go ahead and number. Every line gets a number. Don't skip any. Okay, the y-axis, the change in water level. What would it make sense to count by? Ones again. Okay, so 0's at the bottom. The first line is 1, 2, 3, and so on. Okay, then, once you have the numbering done, you're going to graph your data. Now, your data is different than my data. So you're going to look at your table, and you're going to graph each point. Do not connect the dots yet. Do not connect the dots. Just put the dots on your graph. Okay, so everybody should start down here at 0, 0. Finish putting all the dots on your graph, or as many as you have. Even if you don't have all of them, just put what you have. Are your dots in a nice straight line? Should they be? Mine aren't. If you look at my graph, are my dots perfectly lined up in a nice straight line? No. But my question to you is, should they be in a nice straight line? Why? Right. So think about this, you guys. Every marble we put in the water was the same size, right? And so technically, the water level should have gone up the exact same amount every single time. Why? Well, it did, but how come it doesn't look that way on my graph or my table? How many of you did this when you were reading it? Well, I would say right now it's at about 61, or it's at about 68. Did you do that? Did you have to estimate a little bit? Was it hard to read this a little bit? Yeah. So strictly due to human error, due to our own eyesight not being always the greatest, okay, our numbers are off a little bit. This technically should be a perfectly straight line because we use the same size marbles. So here's how we're going to make that happen. I want you to take your ruler and I want you to line it up with the first point and the last point. Line up your ruler with the first and the last point and draw a nice straight line that goes all the way through the end of the graph. Okay, so it fills up the entire grid. Don't stop at the last point. Keep drawing your line. Line up your ruler with the first and the last point. Do not freehand it. Use your ruler. Line it up. Draw a nice straight line that goes all the way across the grid. It should be a perfectly straight line. So it should look something like mine. Are all the points going to be on the line? No. It's okay. They're not because we couldn't read the water level very well. That's our fault. Okay? Now, what we want to do is look at the rate of change. Okay? Rate of change is really also known as the slope. Okay? So when I ask you to find rate of change, I'm also asking you to find the slope of the line, or how steep the line is. Okay? Now, in order to do that, it's really easy. Okay? To find the rate of change, it's the dependent over the independent. The dependent is the water level. The independent is the marbles. So we're going to write a fraction. How much did our water level go up from the first point to the last point? Mine went up 15. How much did yours go up? From the first point to the last point, how much did it go up? Jackson, yours went up 14. Other groups might have had 14. Did anybody have 16 or 17? Maybe. Okay, maybe you only had 13. It's okay. However much yours went up from the first point to the last point, put that there. Okay? How many marbles did we place in from the first to the last? 10. Everybody should have 10. Okay, this is a rate, 15 to 10. We want a unit rate. I'm going to divide 15 divided by 10. And what I end up getting is 1.5 over 1. What that means is the water level changed 1.5 milliliters per marble. Or 1.4 or 1.3, whatever yours ends up being. You guys, does it make sense then that it was hard to read? If it went up 1.3 every time or 1.4 every time, it makes it more difficult to read. Okay? Now, flip the page. Flip the page, please. Okay, this is going to be your homework. Just like last week, your homework is going to be to finish this page in your notes. Okay, now let me kind of set up the problem for you. The problem goes like this. Your cell phone company has decided to charge per megabyte of data used. They realize they're losing money. So they are not going to give you an unlimited data package anymore. You guys are in trouble. Okay, your cell phone bill is going to skyrocket. Okay, they're going to charge you by the megabyte. Not gigabyte, they're going to charge you by the megabyte. Okay, so every 100 megabytes of data you use is now going to cost you $6. How many of you are going to go broke? Some of you are like, yeah, I use a lot of data every month. Okay, If you use 200 megabytes of data, how much is it going to cost you? $12. If you use 300, it's going to cost you $18 because every 100 megabytes you use is going to cost you another $6. You are going to finish filling out that table. You are going to answer these questions on the bottom of that page. And then you're going to make a graph and find the rate of change and answer question 4 and 5. That's your homework. That's what you need to finish. And then you're going to take a picture and upload it on Canvas just like you did for today. Okay? Questions at all? Okay, you have the rest of the time.